Yo, what's going on, everybody? Black Manga Critic here. It's been a little bit. Just work has been pretty busy. School, all that stuff. You know what I mean? Just trying to make that money. Um, Started doing substitute teaching. Which is like way more work than you think. It's not like I think it used to just be you kind of went in, kind of sat at the desk, sort of made sure that the kids weren't like, trying to kill each other or anything like that. But now it's like really, it's a lot. Like you have to make sure that like whatever the teachers left in terms of the lesson plan, that you sort of follow that you make sure the kids are doing what they're supposed to be doing. Um, that like, exactly where they are at all times, that they're not doing anything that the school doesn't want you to do. So, you know, it's interesting. And also like sometimes like you might actually have to teach a lesson. Like if it's your subject, like let's say for me it would be ELA or English, right? Like English for me personally, but like in middle school it's like ELA. So I'd be teaching ELA, you know. So you can actually do that. Like you can actually help them with their work, things like that, or whatever. But yeah, it's an exhausting thing because like it's just like 8 periods of just like, either you have classes like different sets of kids, and then you have sort of like a prep period where you're just like writing up your sort of report for each sort of individual class and everything. But it's a lot. Watch out, get out of here. I love you. It's my cat. But yeah, I like that's neither here nor there. Yo, Professor Pokegeek, what's good, man? What's good? I think what I really wanted to talk about, so I read all of the weekly Shonen Jump um manga that like pretty much came out. The only one I haven't read is Haikyuu, and that's because I haven't caught up for that yet. I want to do a stream for Haikyuu. I don't know, maybe sometime during the week. Hopefully early in the week, like on a Tuesday or like Monday or Tuesday. Tomorrow, I definitely want to do a Kingdom stream. I'm definitely gonna do a Kingdom stream tomorrow. I want to finish that arc that I left off at. But that's all I'm saying about that in terms of the streaming and stuff like that. But I really wanted to talk about just just the way that people kind of rate chapters. Like sometimes they will sort of say, oh, this chapter was an 8 out of 10. This chapter was a 9 out of 10. This chapter was a 10 out of 10. But you never hear like this chapter was a 4 out of 10. This chapter was a 5 out of 10. This chapter was a 6 out of 10. This chapter was a 6.5 out of 10. Like usually the barrier is sort of like a 7, right? Because it's almost like people, especially individuals who rate, well, who follow like maybe they follow 1 or 2 manga for the channel or something like that. Like that's their thing. Like that's their bread and butter. Sometimes they make money for it. Sometimes they don't. It's whatever. Like regardless of that, like oftentimes like they have a hard time just being like, oh, like, this chapter was like terrible. That's not to say every reviewer does this or every like person that's like reading and doing reviews and stuff like that does this. You know what I mean? Because like Dustin, I think like a lot of people in this community, like Dustin, Trent Money, Stebo, Brago, like I think we're pretty good about being like, yo, this chapter was not very good. This chapter was boring. This chapter didn't really do much for me. And even like, and I don't think you can be objective about a review, but I think you can be honest about what was presented to you, right? So let's say like this week's One Piece chapter, right? Like chapter 887. A lot of people will sort of say, oh, so like for me, I enjoyed the pound stuff well enough. But if I had to rank the chapter, like if someone was like, yo, Danny, Black Manga Critic, if you had to honestly review and rate the chapter, what would you give it? And for me, like if I had to rate One Piece chapter 887, I'd give it like a 6 out of 10. That's like honestly I give it a 6 out of 10. Why? Because while I did enjoy the sort of pound like with the baby with Pez and Chiffon and what was going on with that, I thought that was interesting, and it was nice. And Oda's great at sort of tugging at your heartstrings in a certain way. So like I felt a certain way about that, right? Like I kind of connected in a certain way. So that's why I thought, okay, that part of the chapter I liked. But there were other parts of the chapter that I was just like, I don't care. Like Sanji kicked the cake that was like a floaty cake. Okay, you know what I mean? Oven has a heat ability. Okay, Oven made a part of the ocean like really hot. Okay, he killed some fish. Okay, like it's just like certain things like, Capone's tank is amphibious, right? So it can, travel on land and on water. Okay, like that shit, like I don't care. And I think like right, and not only do I don't care, but I don't think it's particularly interesting. Like at this juncture, like right at this particular juncture within One Piece, like an amphibious boat. That's something we should have seen like a while ago. Like we've seen plenty of ships, right, from different pirate crews. Like an amphibious ship. Whoa, like that's something to like be like, wow, this is amazing. Like, are you gonna really like curb stomp enemies with an amphibious ship? Not really. Like I don't understand why that's so important necessarily. You know what I mean? So I don't give a lot of praise to stuff like that, because I think one, Oda's better than that, I think. And I think that's something he could have done way earlier in the story. But it's like at this point, like we're in the new world. Like I gotta see shit that like can like actually fly. You know what I mean? Like a shit that could like transform into a fighter jet or something. You know what I mean? Something like ridiculously like badass that says like, oh, like in the new world, that would be like incredibly useful. But an amphibious ship is like, you know what I mean? It's like, I'm not. That doesn't excite me at all, and nor do I think it's particularly impressive. And again, like Sanji doing the cake thing, people are like whether it's a feat or not. I don't even think it's particularly interesting whether it's a feat or not. I don't even think it's a particularly interesting event. It's like Sanji moved the cake from one place to another. Whoa, like it's like who cares? This has no real like it doesn't have any real bearing on whether or not like he could defeat Oven, or whether he can defeat certain characters, or whether that ability to kick the cake like will make him better in a fight or something like that. I'm like, who cares? That stuff does not interest me in the least. Like when I saw that, I was like, click to next page. You know what I mean? Like, So I think a lot of people really do like personal rankings, right? Which I think if you're honest about doing personal rankings, then I have no issue with that, because like those are your personal rankings, right? Like really personal rankings, right? Where you say, I really love this part of the manga, so I'm gonna give this manga chapter, I don't know, 8.5 out of 10 or 9 out of 10 or something like that. I understand that. But like when it comes to, I don't know, like when you're really looking at the chapter and really like sort of looking at it and trying to parse through it and saying like, oh, these things were particularly well done, right, in terms of the story, in terms of the sort of narrative within that chapter, the dialogue, things like that, the art, all that stuff. I just like 887 was like it was a forgettable chapter for me. Like I don't even know if I'll remember like Pound is not like seared into my memory. You know what I mean? Like it if there was more to like Chiffon as a character, if there was like let's say it was Lola. Like if Lola was here on Whole Cake Island and for whatever reason she married Capone and Big Mom like and her had a sort of interaction at some point in this arc, right? Then like for me, and Lola was like, oh, I don't know who this person is. Then for me, that would have been particularly interesting because we have a whole bunch of like story with Lola, right? Like we understand like like Lola, if you like Lola as a character, right? Because of everything that that we sort of went through with her and through in the Thriller Bark arc, right? There's like a history there. With Chiffon, I don't really have a history. I'm just like I like Chiffon's like cool enough and like in terms of like this arc, but like in terms of like the attachment to how she feels about Pound and everything like that, I'm like Oda could have done that better, I think. And just so for me, I'm just kind of like whatever, I don't really care. So like a chapter like 887 like gets like for me like a 6 out of 10, and I'm being generous there because I could give it like a 5 out of 10 really. Like if I was just like being like yo like no, you know what? It gets a 5 out of 10. I'm changing that right now. It gets a 5 out of 10 because like it just wasn't a great chapter for me. Let me see. Like what are the components of pros and cons? What's order focus more on story than art? Yeah, but okay. So the chapter was I'm like it wasn't an 8 out of 10 for me. I think there were some things that could have been better. Take Kishimoto, for example, he plays various characters. Yeah, but like for me, it's like I'm not going to like give like a mangaka like an excuse to, you know, like say, oh, I'm playing favorites with these characters and I forget these characters. Like if you're not giving these characters like the time of day and then you try to like reintroduce them into, you know, the narrative or something like that, like, am I supposed to be like, oh, well, at least he tried, you know, at least he tried to like, you know, give some development to this character now after like how many chapters or something like that. Like, no, like it's like you dropped the ball as a writer. Like that's what happened. You know, so for me, like I try not to like, you know, say, oh, because like the author has a track record of, you know, being bad at this thing or that thing or whatever, then, you know, like then you're just bad. And then I'm just going to incorporate that into how I, you know, rate like a particular a chapter or arc or whatever. Like I definitely want to have like some sort of stream where I like to talk about arcs and you know, even just like the weekly Shonen Jump like manga that I've read, I guess. There's some other manga that I've read, and anime that I watched. You know, but like I mean, right now, I like the chapter was just like was not like it just wasn't particularly good. I just think there were better ways like for Oda like to just incorporate a bit more. Like you know, we could have figured out more. We could have learned more about Chiffon. We could have, you know, he could have done more with her character. I think in that way, right? Like in that way. I would have been way more invested in the relationship with, you know, between Pound and Chiffon. The fact that Pound didn't know, well, the Pound knew who Chiffon was, but Chiffon didn't know who he was. It's like that's just like, it's not. No, you know what? It like for me, it's a little kind of like, it's like I just need more. You know, and while I understand that it's like, yeah, like you're writing sort of a chapter for chapter, you don't have a lot of time, like week for week, like Oda's working extremely hard. It still doesn't mean that, you know, I like it's like just because someone is working extremely hard doesn't mean that like I can't critique the work in a particular way, right? Like I can definitely like I've always said like I appreciate mangaka, I appreciate the work that they give, but that doesn't mean that I'm gonna be, you know, like that also, right, like you know, doesn't mean that I think One Piece is like garbage or a terrible manga. Like I love One Piece. Like otherwise I wouldn't be reading up to chapter 887. You know what I mean? So I love this. I love this thing. Like I still love you know, certain parts of the anime, but I just think that like this chapter was like, it just seemed like he kind of, it just seemed kind of forced. Like it seemed like he kind of forced like here's this backstory. Here's Pound doing this sort of like doing this thing. You know, in this moment, we're supposed to sort of feel for Pound. I don't know if he's dead. He's probably dead. I think he's dead. If he's not dead, you know, that's another conversation we could have about, you know, Oda. In this instance, right? I'm not even gonna talk about generally, but just like in this instance, not being able to let a character die when I think they should. You know what I mean? Because clearly, like Oven was just like, this guy like needs to go. Like this guy needs to die. I don't know, but that's just how like one, how I feel about it. Two, how I'm looking at it and sort of saying like, oh, you know, I just kind of see these conversations where people are like, whoa, like this Sanji did this cake thing. It's just like, it's just a little bit too much. That's kind of how I feel about it. It's a little too much. Like it's just like he just moved the cake, man. Like I understand how people are trying to, you know, equate like this particular whatchamacallit, instance or event to how Sanji could, you know, how Sanji would act in like a battle against someone. Which like I get that they're trying to do that, but I don't think that's like particularly useful. Maybe it's cool, like if you're just trying to have the conversation, you want to have a good time with the conversation, whatever. Like I can get that, but like, you know, if you were like seriously trying to be like, oh, look at this thing, like Sanji kicked this cake, like it's a cake, you know what I mean? Like he moved the cake. I mean, we've seen pretty ridiculous things like from a whole slew of characters in the New World. Like this is not like a particularly impressive thing. I think people that are trying to make it so like when Sanji did like the speed blitz, that was a feat. That was something that was like, oh, like we can see how, you know, oh, like how that would translate into a battle. I understand, like that was cool. Like that's why like I like that, like that chapter, right? But like I was gonna say this last week's chapter, right? But like this chapter, I don't know. Let me just look at the chat and see what people think. Just because, you know, I'm always gonna say like what I feel and how I feel about certain things, and I'm gonna be honest about those things. And I have no problem like having conversations with all y'all about that. You know, like yeah. That's what I'm gonna say about that. Let me see. Also, the reason why characters and so on are hard to choose from is a popularity calculus. Popularity as a whole can mess with the series as a whole. No, I mean that's true. Like I understand that. I understand that like clearly like certain mangaka like either have to focus on particular characters because, you know, which I can't pronounce the sort of like overlying corporation, right? Like that publishes Weekly Shonen Jump, right? But like, right, like, you know, editors are coming at him and say like, hey, you got to give these characters more shine because, you know, people the readers are fans of this. So I understand that certain manga are like, you know, feel pressure to do that, especially like if they don't have the notoriety that an Oda or Tagashi, right, right have, or, right, or yeah, right. So I get that, yeah. Shueisha, yeah, I think that's how, yeah, Shueisha or Shueisha. Yo, Nakamanga, what's good? You know, so like I get that, but at the same time, but it's like Oda has so much notoriety. Like, there's no reason why people should be telling him like, "Yo, Oda, you gotta focus on these characters. You gotta do this. You gotta do that." Like, Oda is just fine. I'm pretty sure like Oda's just like, "Yo, I'm gonna do my thing. Y'all can sit over there, you know, and eat some cake or whatever. And I'm gonna continue writing this manga that like I've worked on for, you know, 20 years. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, come on. You know, stuff like that. It's just really like 20 plus years. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, get out of here. So stuff like that just makes me kind of like laugh, I think. You know, like it's just you can like, especially people like, oh, it's like you can definitely like give like these characters a bit more, a little bit more backstory or just time within the narrative. Not even time within the narrative, but quality time in the narrative. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you know, and like yeah, like I get it, you know, and I think like when it comes to other manga, like some other manga, like they really just don't have like an option because they don't have the name, they don't have the notoriety, like they're really counting, like they have to build a fan base, so they have to have characters that, you know, at the beginning that really connect with individuals, with readers and things like that. I don't know, like I said, like I just like, the chapter was kind of whatever for me. You know, and like when I really like look at it sort of critically, like just like as like someone that like studies like literature and stuff like that, I just think this chapter was it's a little weak. You know, but like if I want to talk about it, just like let's say, you know, some people are like, oh, One Piece was just the best chapter this week, even though it was like, for me, like it was like a very much so average, like not even average, like, right, because if you look at like how people rate One Piece consistently, they consistently give it at least a 7 out of 10, right? Which is like, come on, son. Like, not every One Piece chapter is like at least a 7 out of 10. No. You know, like I don't believe that. I think that's ridiculous. Right? And like I also, what I want to also get to is the fact that I think, you know, there are other manga, right? Like a My Hero Academia, like the Promised Neverland. You know, I'm trying to think of like Haikyuu. What's some other we should manga to come out? Even like a Dr. Stone. You know what I mean? Like there are manga that come out weekly that consistently for me are more interesting than One Piece chapters. Like whenever, like this has been very like fairly recently. Just like I want to say not even this whole year, but just like you know, people have sort of been saying like, oh, like if I were to think about this, not this whole year, but like, you know, the from when the Promised Neverland started to when it ended, like I want to say I've been looking out every week for the Promised Neverland as opposed to, you know, One Piece. And right, obviously, like I think there is some bias because like I like the Promised Neverland more than I like One Piece. But I also think that just like the Promised Neverland has just been, you know, consistently great at putting out chapters that have points to them, right? Like every chapter of the Promised Neverland pushes the narrative, pushes you know, pushes these sort of arcs, pushes the story as a whole, adds things, world builds, does all of these things, and they're like really interesting, you know. And I don't think every chapter of One Piece has done that necessarily. Like that's just me. Like, and I think part of that is because, like, you know, Oda sometimes he might just have a chapter where it's not necessarily about that. It might just be about, you know, this character doing a thing or a feat or something like that, and maybe not even necessarily a feat, but just you know, some event like the amphibious boat or whatever with Capone. Like that's not, you know, it doesn't particularly like push like the plot or the narrative in like a super interesting way or anything like that. It's just kind of something that like Oda does because he might have a, like I think right, I don't know, but just like, you know, Oda's like sort of say, okay, like here's this thing, here's a boat, you know, and that's what I'm pushing this thing, you know. Yeah, you know, it's like right, One Piece, like I think One Piece is kind of in a place where I think like right with Zoe, the Zoe arc was phenomenal, and I think it's one of the best arcs of the series. Why? And I think rightly so, because it was one of the you know, most impactful arcs in terms of pushing the story, the plot, the narrative, like everything. Like it had all of the things that you wanted, you know. But like, I mean, Promised Neverland just like does that consistently. Like every chapter pushes the, you know, the arcs forward. Every chapter pushes the plot for the arc and the general story forward. Right. Every chapter does that. Every chapter has a goal. You know, every time I'm reading the Promised Neverland, like, and I'm reading a chapter from there, I always feel like, oh, either I'm gonna learn something new, or I'm going to see progression that is valuable to the story at large, right? Like I might not even necessarily learn more about just the general sort of plot, right? Because the general plot is really just like, you know, you know, it's just like, hey, like the kids realized that they were, you know, trapped, and you know, the kids realized that this thing was happening, and now we have to, you know, do this other thing. You know what I mean? It's like it's very straightforward in some ways, but every chapter, you know, gives us something. It always gives us something. It either gives it, you know, character development, plot development, you know, story development. You know, it gives us something. So that's how I feel about like that. So whenever I read The Promised Neverland, like not every chapter in The Promised Neverland is right. Either is a 10 out of 10. You know, some chapters for me, like if I had to like honestly rank them, some chapters would be, you know, some chapters would be a 7 out of 10. Some chapters would be you know, an 8 out of 10. Some chapters would even be a 6 out of 10. You know, like right, The Promised Neverland is not always amazing, but I do think that it's been consistently very good. One Piece, some chapters, like for me, would be like a 5 out of 10. Some chapters might be actually like a 4 out of 10. But I don't think I've ever read like a Promised Neverland chapter where I was like, you know what, that was a 4 out of 10. Like I didn't like that. I didn't like I don't know what was going on here. I don't know what the point of that was. You know, so that's just me. Again, also that doesn't mean that like there are other, like, right, there aren't, like, say My Hero Academia chapters that aren't like a 4 out of 10, or that aren't a 5 out of 10, or a 6 out of 10 or something like that. I've definitely like read My Hero Academia chapters and was like, I don't know, something about this seemed kind of off. You know, earlier chapters, I think, for me. The more recent chapters, I was like, yo, holy crap, you know? But yeah, Nakamanga, yeah, definitely, right? It's just like I always look forward to, you know, like, right, to The Promised Neverland, Kimetsu no Yaiba, because like of the story, like because I know that every time I read a chapter from those manga, and also I think My Hero Academia too, like I know things are going to be moving forward. You know, and for One Piece, like I'm not sure if the story's gonna move forward or if we're just gonna kind of, you know, chill in a certain space for a while. And I think Oda's earned the right to be able to do that with his story, right? Like I'm not arguing that he doesn't have the right, or nor should he have the right to do that. He definitely has every right to like do what he wants with the story. It's his story. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I just feel like, you know, I feel like sometimes I could like, if I could just like let One Piece chapters pile up, and it wouldn't be an issue for me. One, because I have, you know, because I have The Promised Neverland. I have, you know, more recent chapters of My Hero Academia, where it is right now. You know, from like chapters I want to say 70 onward. You know what I mean? Like I have all that stuff, or even 60, even yeah, I would say 65 onward. You know, like I have all that stuff. You know, so I'm not like I have other Weekly Shonen Jump manga that I can read. You know, let's say like when Hunter x Hunter is like being you know serialized, not serialized, but like when Hunter x Hunter is like in you know the rotation. I have that. You know, so every week I'm just like One Piece is like something like I never read One Piece last. My thing is always that I read right, like yeah, of course you can do it, right? I guess the Yonkos crews deserve also screen time, but that just takes more time. Yeah, it's just like you know, like that's fine. Like he has, like he has a right. He has every right to take the time to do certain things, and that's all well and good. I understand that, right? For me, I think the thing for me is just, you know, it's like, hey, you can still do all of that and still have chapters that progress, like that have you know really strong character development or a part of a battle or a bit of information that moves the story forward or something like that. You know, manga's tough. Yeah, I do think manga's tough. That's why I appreciate manga that do like a really phenomenal job with, you know, with their pacing. Like I think The Promised Neverland is like phenomenal with its pacing. Like it's just been really good. I think like there's someone on Twitter that I follow, the Manga Critic. Like you should definitely go and follow her on Twitter. Like I'm the Black Manga Critic, and she's like the Manga Critic, right? So you should go follow her on that. But you know, she like one of the things she said was like she was like The Promised Neverland is like sort of master class in terms of like how to pace like a shonen like manga. You know what I mean? It's like the pacing is so well done. You know, for me. But I do think that right. So like power scaling is always an issue. You know, just like I think let's say something like Hunter x Hunter and like let's say JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, stuff like that. Like those things do power scaling well because they establish that like power scaling only matters up to a certain point, right? Once like a battle, let's say like a certain like type of battle starts in those manga, it's really just about like which character is more creative, which character is more adept in terms of battle, which character has planned more, things of that nature, right? It's not necessarily about, oh, this character has more energy, right? Like that's what I really love about stories like Hunter x Hunter, or manga like a Hunter x Hunter and a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Like those are consistently very good at power scaling because they understand that like you can't really depend on brute force, right? Just like pure physical ability or power to maintain a quality power scale. And like I don't think that works. That's why you see all these other shonen manga that really just kind of like fall flat on their face when they try to do that, right? Like a Dragon Ball, like sort of the Dragon Ball franchise, more so Dragon Ball Z, like the latter half of Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball Super, you know, Fairy Tail, right? Like stuff like that. Like they just really fail at that. Power of friendship cliche, right? That too. It's like there's some people who are like, oh, you know, like for me, like when Usopp did that whole sort of speech thing, that was a power of friendship speech. I don't know how you can argue that wasn't a power of friendship speech, and that when Luffy got up, it was really because, you know, like at that moment, right? He got up at that moment, right? Right? Because if he didn't get up at that moment, Luffy would have ran right off and killed every one of his Nakama. That's what would have happened, right? Luffy tells us this. So I mean, it's just certain things just kind of like, you know, get on my nerves. Like some people in in like certain manga communities and anime communities and stuff like that seem to have a really hard time admitting when something seems to be kind of cliche and a little ridiculous and living in that, right? It's not enough to just say, yo, this thing was cliche. You have to be like, yo, that was cliche, man. The writing was kind of suspect there. You know, people can't even do that. They're just like, oh, it was cliche, but I really liked it, and that's okay. That makes it okay. It's good writing. Let's move on with it. You know what I mean? That's like, no, like you can't be like, oh, that thing was cliche. You know what I mean? Like you can't be like, oh, that thing was cliche, and then go say like, yeah, but it was still good writing. Like, nah, I don't really understand that. So that's kind of how I feel about that. Let me see. You know, keeping your characters alive. You know what I mean? Yeah, stuff like that. Stuff like that is just kind of like, you know, like that bothers me definitely. That's why, like, with My Hero Academia, I loved not the latest, well, the latest chapter because of the last chapter, right? That's why these two the latest chapters, the latest two chapters of My Hero Academia were so great because it was really like it was clearly like it clearly had impact, right? There was a reason for us to really feel disheartened for about Mirio's situation, but feel super hopeful and joyful because of just how he was dealing with it. It was just like, man, like this guy, he's just got an incredible fortitude, right? That one, I think his hero mentality gives him, but two, that his upbringing gives him, right? Like, he sort of watched his father fail, and I think in a lot of ways, like watching his father sort of fail to sort of become a hero with the same quirk, like really sort of instilled in him and sort of said like, okay, like, I gotta do this, like, because like I don't really have my father as a role model for how to become a successful hero, right, and how to not give up on that dream. So a lot of that, right, not only comes from like All Might, but comes from a lot of himself, and like it's very much internal, So let me see, like no ass pulls. Like, it's really difficult. I think for Battle Shonen, it's like extremely difficult. Even the Promised Neverland sometimes, like the Promised Neverland, right? In some ways, Emma has to survive particular instances because she's the protagonist. That's like, so you're going to see what could be considered to be ass pulls. I think right, like, but sometimes it might not be because like it's on the writer to convince us that their protagonist should be alive at any moment in time if they're in very real danger. That's on the writer, right? Like, it's not like I shouldn't have to do manga plot calculations, you know what I mean, in my brain, trying to figure out why this character is still alive or why this protagonist is still alive or whatever, or why the antagonist is still alive. Like, I shouldn't have to do that. Like, the writing should alleviate that work for me. So like that, like I'm like, I am really not, I don't even want to say hard, but I think I'm really like, I expect great writing from great writers. It's not always going to be like 100% perfect. I understand that because that's the nature of writing, right? But at the very least, like, I expect like a writer to put in a certain amount of like thought in terms of sort of their story's logistics and in terms of how and why a character continues to live, even though it's very clear that in a certain situation they should have died, right? Like certain things like that. So that's why in the Promised Neverland you see that consistently. You consistently see that, hey, I'm like, the kids are going to train, they're going to learn how to cook food. These characters are introduced for not only to help the kids, but to progress the storyline. You know what I mean? Like, it's not enough for like, right, like right, like that's what I like. That's what I like about the Promised Neverland. I always see that it's always consistent. It's consistently there. Let's see. Don't give him no bullshit power up. I don't want to see that. Let me see. Character for My Hero Tagato. I like him, but I don't want to have one. And what I love is that like he was like, nah, I'm good. That, like, you need to see that. You gotta see that. There was, right, like, right, there was a female, right, there was a woman, right, Nana, her last name, Tamura, no, yeah, or something, I can't remember her last name, Nana something, right, All Might, Toshinori's mentor and teacher, and the seventh wielder, I want to say seventh wielder of whatchamacallit, One for All. You know what I mean? So the thing that pisses me off about that is that, like, what would be even more interesting is like if she was the one that, like, if a girl was the one to inherit One for All. That'd be incredible. That'd be an incredible story. Like, you could do so many different things, I think, with a character, with emotional range, with putting them in particular situations. You know what I mean? That I don't like. That I think you can't necessarily do in a battle shonen. Yeah. You know, like, and it's not because like it shouldn't, like, it's not because like it could happen, but because I think the writers just don't have the range in terms of like understanding women, right, and not putting them in situations that are very sexist and things of that nature, right? It's like, why is Ochako, you know, a character that's like worried about being in love with another character? What about Deku? Like, what's going on with him? Why, like is he worried about love or anything like that? Are there any other guys in My Hero Academia that are worried about that? No, right? Because that's clearly like, and for me personally, that's clearly a sexist thing. That's what that is. Like, if someone wants to be like, oh, it's not sexist that Ochako, you know, loves, everyone can love. Yeah, but if you're looking at a situation, Ochako seems to be one of the only few people, right? At least in my memory, that is right, like that is really dealing with that at the forefront of the story, right? I'm pretty sure twice, like also like you know, has romantic feelings for Toga, but that's almost irrelevant. You know what I mean? It's not particularly relevant to the story. You know, didn't All Might have a female teacher? Yeah. Nana, right? Shimura, I think was her last name. Right, Nana, right? She was the seventh, I believe she was the seventh wheeler of One For All. I believe like Nana, like the kanji or the katakana for that, like means seven, I believe. So like that's why it's like seven, and like I believe like whatchamacallit, All Might's like actual name has like the kanji like for 8, and then like Deku has the kanji for 9, right? Like, so like I think that's what's going on there. Like but you know, it's like, bruh, that's what's happening there. Anybody that tries to tell me that, you know, Ochako having feelings for Deku isn't a particular isn't a sexist thing. Like, this is we see this all the time. You know, when we look at you know, other battle shonen, we see that all the time. You know, it's always the woman or the girls who are like, oh my god, I love this character. And I don't know what to do. All these feelings. What do I do? And it's like, normally, I'd be fine. I don't mind like characters having feelings or having romantic feelings, right, for other characters. That's fine. That's like natural, right? It's a natural thing. It's when you see it happen most of the time for women. No, Naruto and Sakura. Yeah, nah. But that was like, that was a little different, right? Because like the core what was really at the forefront of that was Naruto's feelings. Not romantic feelings necessarily, but Naruto's feelings for Sasuke. Those completely overtook Naruto's feelings for Sakura, right? Like, it was like, yeah, Naruto liked Sakura, but like it wasn't nearly as important as Naruto's feelings of friendship for Sasuke. Though that was like here, you know what I mean? And like Naruto's feelings for Sakura were like here, and then like Sasuke's here. Like you cannot tell me that Naruto's like romantic feelings for Sakura were like particularly like were like super important to like the way that like the narrative moved and stuff, and the story moved and everything like that. Maybe like in certain like tiny instances at the beginning of like Naruto, but it soon became very clear that what was really important in terms of how Naruto felt about individuals was his relationships with was how he felt about a lot of the guys in his life, right? Because he didn't have a father figure, you know, or let's say like if he had someone who he saw as a mother figure, right, like a Tsunade. But outside of that, it's like most of the important figures in Naruto's life were guys, you know. So you know, plus My Hero Academia put a gay, lesbian, or transgender character and give them a reason, you know, give them a reason and hardship. Yeah, I mean, like these are things that we could see. You know, these are things that I would love to see. But I think it's really clear that some mangaka are just not there. They're just not there. You know, I think like we look at someone like a Tagashi. I'm not sure how far he has pushed it, but I think he's one of the few battle shonen mangaka that have really pushed like relationships, right? That have pushed romantic relationships, and have done so, right? And has done so in a way that's like really like remarkable for me for like battle shonen. I mean, I'm looking at Tagashi's work. I'm looking at Yu Yu Hakusho. I'm looking at Hunter x Hunter. But right, like I'm looking at right like Meruem and Komugi, Sensui and Itsuki, Keiko and Yusuke, you know what I mean? What was her name? Kuwabara and what's her name? Tsukina or something, like, you know what I mean? Like just like certain things, like, and Nagamanga, like these are just characters. Like, I'm not gonna mention anything about these characters or anything like that, but like these are like basically Yu Hakusho does things in a way that's just really really well done. One thing that I like that I'm always gonna appreciate about that is just like how it deals with how it deals with relationships, how it deals with sexuality, how it deals with gender, how it deals with certain things. It does that in a like it's far superior. Yu Yu Hakusho, particularly, it's far superior to most of the battle shonen out here. You know what I mean? Even now, in terms of that, in terms of like relationships, in terms of character relationships, in terms of romantic relationships. I mean, that's how I feel about that. And I'm talking about shonen, right? Battle shonen. I'm not talking about seinen manga. I'm not talking about josei manga. I'm not talking about shoujo manga, because I think those manga do awesome things. You know, doesn't mean that they're not problematic in some ways, but I do think, like, you know, if we look at those stuff, if we look at seinen, if we look at all that stuff, yeah. Then yo, take care, Spider Shot MC. I'm gonna make you a moderator, just so you know. So when you come back and like, let's say like somebody, you know, tries to do some like stupid stuff and tries to spoil whatever, you know, you can always just be like, hey, get him out of here. But yeah, yeah, that's how I feel about that. That's why, like, one of the things that really bothered me, like one of the reasons why I gave the latest My Hero Academia arc like a 9 out of 10 and not just like a 10 out of 10 was because you know, Horikoshi to me really dropped the ball with the women in and the girls in this arc. I mean, he really dropped the ball. It was really surprising because I was like, yo, you know, and this is something that, like, Dustin Reacts, like, you know, like on Orpheus, like, and all of us have really talked about. We've been like, yo, like, what the hell was that? You know, why did we get like one like little tiny little chapter with a villain that was particularly interesting, right? Yeah, get out of here, Ifa. You know, that was particularly interesting, right? Right, with his ability to absorb stamina. I would have loved to see like an extended battle in that sense. You know, that would have been super super cool. But we didn't get that, and that really bothered me. Ifa, get out of here. Sorry, it's my cat. She's being kind of annoying. You know, but like, yeah, like where was that? Where was that? You know, that bothered me a lot. More than I think I let on in like certain conversations, you know, with other people. And that's fine, because like I didn't want to like, you know, bogart like a conversation and like other streams and things like that. Like, I'm not about that. But you know, Horikoshi, I think, dropped the ball pretty swiftly in that, you know, and hopefully then what comes next alleviates or tries to rectify that issue. Just because I think, like, you know, I don't want to see these characters get the Hinata Sakura 10-10 treatment. You know what I mean? Ino treatment. I don't want to see that shit. Because that really pissed me off in Naruto. I was like, like, because you knew it was like, if they did that to Rock Lee, who was like one of the best characters in Naruto, in the first half of Naruto, if they did that to Rock Lee, like, you knew that the women in the arc were gonna get like shat on. You know what I mean? So yeah. Because Taide Kubo, Hiro Mashima, another manga artist, touch on this LGBT. Yes, in some ways they do. I'm trying to think of like Mashima. I don't know. I don't know if Mashima does that. I mean, I think some of them could. I'm trying to remember what Mashima like if you just like let me know, like, what do you think Mashima does in that sense? Taide Kubo, Hiro Mashima, Taide Kubo. I'm trying to remember where he did that. I don't know. I think Kubo could have. I think Kubo showed some elements of like maybe being able to do that, like, but just again, like, also just drop the ball in that way. You know, and I like, and here's the thing for me. For me, it's not enough to super subtly sort of touch on it, or like have like, You know, like, okay, so like Dragon Ball Super, right? Like the Kale, like Kale and Caulifla, when they were introduced, like I don't think anybody was sure if Kale had either had feelings for Caulifla or if it was just like a platonic friendship and they thought of each other as like you know, and Kale thought of Caulifla as like a big sister type or anything like that. We weren't sure. I think now we're pretty sure that it's like, you know, platonic, like it's not romantic. Like Kale sees Caulifla as like a big sister, kind of a mentor, and Caulifla sees Kale as sort of like a sister, someone, you know, and stuff like that. Oh, I know which character you're talking about. Yeah. That was cool. I like that. I thought that was I thought it was phenomenal. You know what made me mad? Like what made me mad was that I remember which character you're talking about. Yeah. The transgender woman. I would say she was a transgender woman because they presented that Fullbringer as someone with right that had a, I guess, male sort of body in a heteronormative sense, but it was clearly identified as a woman. You know, like that was really clear for me. I thought that was phenomenal. That shit was great. I was like, yo, I was really cheering for her. You know, like that was cool. What made me mad was that it was like at the fucking end of the damn story. It's like, yo, you know, it's like, yo, you have this great character, you know, and she's at the end of the fucking story. It's like shit like that pisses me off. Like the placement of it. And so sometimes, like, if Kubo, maybe Kubo didn't have the opportunity to do to introduce characters within the LGBTQ IA sort of like spectrum, but that was she was a great character. I thought she was badass. Yeah, she was cool. But yeah, okay, yeah. I totally forgot about that. I think it's because like I just kind of like Bleach is like somewhere over there, in terms of like my memory bank or whatever, just because it kind of disappointed me in so many ways. But that was one of the great things about it. But yeah, I mean, people, I think people don't, or some people do know this about me, but I don't think a lot of people know this about me. Like I identify as a bisexual guy, right? Like that is me. Like, if anyone has an issue with that and how I identify, they can go kick rocks. This look, I'm 29 years old. I have a beautiful fiance that loves me. I love her. We have 4 awesome cats. We live in a pretty decent apartment in New York City. I have I'm going for my doctorate degree. I have a sub-teaching license. You know what I mean? Like my life is pretty decent. Like my family's still around. Like I'm good. Like nobody's gonna come into like this one of these streams, or if I'm in someone else's stream and come at me. That shit ain't gonna happen. You know what I mean? Like I'm good. I love myself. You know what I mean? So yeah. So like if anyone else feels like that's why I've made videos in the past where I'm like, yo, like you can't pull that shit. You're not gonna pull that shit in my fucking channel. You're not gonna pull that shit here. You're gonna pull the shit in this fucking live chat. Kishimoto needs to make a gay anime man. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it would save anime, but it'd definitely be a huge step in the right direction, right? Because it matters. Like representation matters, right? Not a diversity, right? But representation matters in super popular media. It just does. When you don't see it in the popular media, it gives people feel like they have the license to ignore these important existences. You know what I mean? Ways of living, ways of interacting, and things of the ways of loving. You know what I mean? So that's why I don't think it's an excuse. Like I think if especially if you're someone like if you're popular, like then you're popular. You know what I mean? Your manga's popular. So that's why I thought I love that. I love the transgender woman in Bleach. I gotta look up her name, but that was super cool. That was one of those instances where I was like, yo, Also, Nakamanga, if you're still in the stream, just so all y'all know, he has not read a lot of like much of Yu Yu Hakusho, so don't spoil anything about Yu Yu Hakusho for him. But yeah, so yeah, that's how I feel about it. But like I said, if anybody comes into my channel, anybody comes into my stream, and they feel like, hey, like some dudes are being, you know, misogynistic, transphobic, homophobic, queerphobic, you know what I mean? Like any of that shit, bigoted, any of that shit, like you're not rocking here. You're just not. I'm not. I think like this is my space. This is our space. You know, we have the right to exist in this space and not, you know, fear like people coming at us like and do us like some like bullshit. You know what I mean? So that's why like I always make sure that like like if someone does something that I'm not feeling, especially like if it's on my channel, I'm like, nah, you gotta like cut that shit. You know? So yeah, like I think what I'll do is I'll probably make more videos, you know, in that sense where I just talk about like, yo, like, yeah, y'all gotta stop doing this thing or that thing or whatever, or like this is the problem, here's why, blah, blah, blah. You know, I think I did more of those earlier on, and now like I've just kind of been like, you know, chilling, doing videos, trying to put out content. But like I said, I'm definitely gonna do a Kingdom stream tomorrow. You know, so expect that. I want to get back to Oyasumi Poon Poon because I really want to keep reading that because I thought it was really good what I read, and I want to get back to live streaming that. I just want to get back to live streaming more manga. So like on Monday, not Monday, but like next Monday, I'm gonna live stream all of the weekly Shonen Jump manga. I'm still having like, I don't know, because like I think what I will do is I just keep using like I keep using, I don't know, I feel bad about using scanlations, so I don't know. But I feel like I want to put out content on Mondays where I do like a weekly Shonen Jump stream where I just read stuff. But the only problem is like it's harder. Like then what I have to do is like I have to like create discussion streams and avoid YouTube like throughout the entire weekend, right? Because then I get spoiled and stuff like that. So it's gonna be tough. But I think I want to do that because like, you know, I've been on individuals who like fiscally gain from doing reviews of scanlations. And then like purporting to be like, go read, you know, go buy a subscription of Viz Media. Like, don't tell me to buy a subscription from Viz Media if you're fucking reading scanlations and then putting out video reviews of the scanlated material. Like get the fuck out of here with that shit. Like that never made any sense to me. It kind of gets on my nerves, you know. So stuff like that. Hiko Araki, to go back to JoJo Part 2, talk more about the Pillar Man. Yo, for facts. There are a lot of questions in Part 2 of JoJo that I want to know more. Definitely, JoJo Part 2 was phenomenal. I'm trying to like. I think I'm only up to like part. Like I finished Part 5 actually of JoJo, but like I need to like read the rest. I need to be like Part 6, 7, and I feel like 8 is ongoing right now, but I don't know. Yo, it's Fraggy. What's good? Let's see. Yeah, but Part 2 was phenomenal. It was such a market shift for me in the story and the complexity of it, in the battles, and it was really interesting. Like even the art, you know what I mean? Like everything just like took a jump. Everything took a jump in terms of just like how great it was. Because it was like the first art really, Phantom Blood was cool. Phantom Blood was just like, yo, this is a cool thing. I got it. Hamon is great. This is awesome. You know, Jonathan Joestar is cool. Dio was Dio. Speedwagon is cool. But like Part 2 is like, Part 2 is awesome. Part 2 in the manga is phenomenal. And when I watched the anime adaptation of Part 2, I was like, oh my god! Like I was in love with Part 2. I was in love with Part 2. I love Part 2. Joseph Joestar is. It's hard because like I would say it's a tie. I like Joseph Joestar is like my favorite, but I also really love whatchamacallit, Giorno Giovanni, right? Like I like cool beings, man. Cool characters. I love them. You know? So yeah, and the Pillar Men were just like fucking cool. They just like they just exuded like confidence and like sex appeal and everything. And it was fucking awesome. Yeah, so part two was great. Excuse me. Oh, and of course Caesar, right? Caesar Zeppeli, right? Like I want to see more Hamon and what it could do. That I mean, I think that was one thing I was kind of mad about. I was like it seemed very abrupt. I think it was more abrupt in the anime than the manga, to like from like the shift from Hamon to stands. I think it was way more abrupt in the Fraggy, we're talking about JoJo. So just know that like we might get spoiled. Oh, I don't know. Okay. But yeah, like it was way more abrupt in the anime. I remember like, thinking like, man, like you could just feel that it just moved from Hamon to stands all of a sudden. It was just odd. But like in the manga, like it was like, okay, like, it's cool, but I don't know. I just kind of like I think it was still fresh because I was moving from manga chapter to manga chapter from like part 2 to part 3. So it wasn't as like, rah, where's the Hamon? Give me 1 sec, guys. I'll be right back. All right, we are back, y'all. But yeah, yeah, yeah. Like it's like stands like are cool. I don't mind stands, honestly, but I really love like the sort of ingenuity of him on. But again, I kind of understood that like right like what I would have loved is if sort of like Hamon what like if Hamon was actually think about it this way, right? In some ways, Hamon was very much so like right, like it's very clear that like Togashi wasn't the Nen system that was very much so inspired by right what you call it, Araki's Hamon and stands, right? Like that is really clear. I think it's really clear. Like if anybody's trying to like say, oh, Togashi came up with that on his own, like that's bullshit. Like get the fuck out of here with that. But like it's like right, like Togashi said, okay, like Hamon is like really cool as like in terms of like life energy and stuff like that, and the utilization of that life energy, and stands is like, also like similar, right? Like it's like a different like utilization. I think for me, like of life energy and stuff like that in terms of the connection to the stand user, but like Nen was like a combination of all of that and more. Like Togashi just pushed it, and I think if Araki really stayed with Hamon, and maybe try to just like put Hamon and stands together, and like connected them, I don't think I don't think he would have come up with the Nen system, obviously, but I think he would have come up with something similar. It might not have been as intricate, but I think it would have been similar to the Nen system in terms of like using like energy to conjure to sort of like create like a like a stand or aka like a Hatsu, right? Like I think that would have been like really interesting. I would have loved to see that. I wanted part 3 to use more comedy. Yeah, it would have been cool. I would have loved to see that. That's kind of what I was waiting for. But then, like the only time you really saw that was like Joseph, right, with a Purple Hermit. But like, and that was cool. Those are some of my favorite parts from the manga and the anime, but in particular the anime. The way that he used Hamon and the stands together, like that was clear, right? Because like it was clever, it was neat, it was very Joseph. It was a very Joseph Joestar thing to do. Yeah, that's what like right, like a combination of Hamon and stands would be like phenomenal. That's why Togashi's Nen system works so well, because at the base of that is really like a combination of right, like life energy and the use of that life energy to create a particular ability. But even though you can create the particular ability, you don't lose the ability to use other you know like nan not even nan, not nan abilities, but like right, like aura abilities. You know what I mean? Like that's what I love. Like right, like you don't lose the ability to use the four principles or anything like that. You know, but it's so it's interesting. It's really interesting. Yeah, but that's basically what like yeah. But like I think like that like something like generally what was bothering me, I think this week was just, you know, and just like for a while actually, was just, you know, sometimes people are not, sometimes people just don't seem like they can be honest about certain things, you know, and that's kind of sad. Take Joseph for example, and his Hermit Purple. Yeah, you know, right, like Joseph, like if Joseph, Joestar in part 2 had Purple Hermit, like holy shit, you know what I mean? Like he would have destroyed those Pillar Men like with the quickness. You know what I mean? Like cars would have had no fucking shot of getting that gem. You know what I mean? Like no shot. They would all have been dead. You know. But what else did I want? What else? Yeah. You know. But like what I was saying is like, it's just sad. Like one thing I like for my channel to be is just like I like to be honest with people. Like, you know, people are gonna know. Like you're not gonna know every single little thing about my personal life and stuff like that. And everything, but you know, you'll know enough, you know, to where you'll feel like, you know, if you want to like divulge something, you know, in the stream or something like that, like you will feel comfortable enough to do that. You know, yeah, the stands, like I think the stands in like the stands like are cool, but I think that like Hamon was missed, especially in part 3, right? Because it's like it was a weird thing. It's like why bring back you know, why bring back Dio if Hamon's not going to be like a large part of the narrative, you know? And like why stands, right? And like almost like what happened, right? Is like the same thing that happened with Araki in part 1 and his use of Hamon, right? It was very like one-dimensional in some ways, and it's kind of like, okay, it was kind of cool, but like right, part 2 just kind of jumped. Right, with part 3, you got this like, you know, you got like the stands were kind of cool, but the Hamon was really missed, you know. And I think like Araki missed a really prime opportunity to like have more more Hamon users, right? Because you only really had like two or three Hamon users, and there weren't enough battles like that. Like, well, no, not part 2. Part 3, right? You only had Joseph Joestar. Right, part 3 you only had really Joseph Joestar that could use Hamon, and even then he wasn't really using it like that. He basically was using that to like make sure that Dio couldn't kill his ass, right? Which is what you're supposed to fucking do. But I think like if Jotaro could have used Hamon, that would have been even more. That would have been way more a way more interesting battle than all of a sudden Jotaro can stop time. I mean, that still makes me mad. And now if they had explained it and said, hey, Dio, like the ability to stop time was like a Jost, like could have been like a bloodline sort of ability, and you know, because Dio took over Jonathan Joestar's body, he had the ability to use not the world, but just like the time stopping ability, right? Like, well, yeah, I think the world is the time stopping ability, right? Like, so like if you had the ability to do that, you know, like because of Jonathan Joestar's body and the bloodline and everything like that, I would have understood that. But like the fucking the fact that Jotaro could use the world, I was like, this shit is so stupid. Like it actually made me mad. It just ugh. You know, like it's cool, but like it still made me mad because it was just like, fuck, man. You know, that's why like right, part 4 is like awesome. I love part 4. Part 4 is great because it really like part 3 is also, it is about stands, but it doesn't utilize stands in the same way that like part 4 does. I think part 4 is just far better in a lot of ways. And part 1 and part 2 and part 3 and part 4 are very much like sort of mirror images, like not mirror images, but like they're similar in that sense, right? Where Araki is trying to do something new and he drops the ball in certain places, and then when he tries to sort of push it, he does a much better job. Now that's kind of how I feel like it works, right? For part 4 is fucking awesome. Killer Queen is a phenomenal stand. Crazy Diamond is a phenomenal fucking stand. Yeah, the hand, like all those stands are great, you know. But like, and Star Platinum was cool, and then they gave him the fucking world. Like, why did you do that? Like I was so mad. I was like, I just wanted some. I just wanted that. That's all I wanted. You know, like he didn't have to have the world. He could have just kept punching people to fucking oblivion. That would have been cool. And like everything, like even the way he used Star Platinum in the battle when he wasn't using right the world was super cool. It was great. Get out of here. Sorry, my cat's just being kind of not annoying, but just, you know, get out of here. Come on. All right. But the battle with Jotaro and Dio having time stop ability made it feel original. Like Dio having a time stop ability was cool. But the fact that Jotaro had the time stop ability, what the fuck was that? Like, did they even really explain that? I don't think so. If they did, great. But I don't think they really explained that. Like I said, like if they had an explanation, like it was a Joestar ability, even Joseph had the potential to use the world and stop time, that would have been interesting. But that's not the case. Like it's just a weird. It's a Deus Ex Machina. That's really what it is. I don't know how else you can explain Jotaro being able to stop time other than a Deus Ex Machina. Unless they've already like had like a very good explanation. But right now, I don't think there's one out there. And I think people maybe try to force explanations onto the narrative, which I think is always a bad idea because you didn't write the narrative. It's not your narrative. Like it's not your story. It's not your plot. Like, you know. So, I think what happened was I think the way they explained that was like, because he hadn't really had to use it very often or whatever. Between like part 3, between like the end of part 3 and the beginning of part 4 or whatever. So the time went down or something like that. Or maybe it might have also been, and right, like that was weird, right? Like I understood that, like, oh, because Dio, was a vampire, and right, like he could use, like the world, and like it didn't put a strain on him, right, in that way, right? Because like his body could deal with it, his supernatural body could deal with it, and like Jotaro, couldn't because he was fucking human. So that I was like, all right, whatever. I'm gonna roll with that because that's what you're giving me, Araki. But yeah, the 5 seconds or 2 second things, I think they were just sort of like he didn't use it enough, so like he can only do 2 seconds. I was like, oh, whatever, but it was also because they wanted to be overpowered. If it was like 7 seconds or something like that, he could have just done everything himself. He could have just beaten everybody himself. So I think they kind of tried to make sure that it wasn't like super crazy. Or whatever. Plus, like, why can't characters like Dio's son have to have some? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, where's the explanation? There is no explanation. It's very much so like right. That's an instance in which Araki drops the ball is the introduction of stands. Right. There's no real explanation for that. It's just like, here's a fucking thing. Stands. People can use stands. Hormones not really a thing anymore. It's just like. It's kind of lazy, If you just give an explanation for things like that, okay, I would have taken that. I like explanations. They allow me to sleep at night, peacefully. Otherwise, like once I'm done reading something, it's like, what the fuck? I'm like, what the fuck? What's going on? What's happening? So yeah, so stuff like that really bugs me. Okay, so how many of y'all are caught up with The Promised Neverland? I actually want to know because if you haven't read The Promised Neverland, like Professor Pokey, just let me know. Because I don't want to spoil things for people. Like I hate spoiling things for people. Like I really do. Like when if I feel like I did, I'd be like, fuck. Plus like Jotaro trained. Yo, the Heart 96. What's good? Plus like Jotaro trained the time stop within 10 years, he would have 2 to 3 minutes stop. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, right? Like the explanation, right? Like the explanation they gave for that was like he hadn't trained enough, like he hadn't used it enough. in the interim between part 3 and part in the beginning of part 4, right? So he was kind of like, ugh, with it, but also that like his human sort of body could not do more than that because it legit put a strain on him. Yes, the binge was fantastic. Of course, it was fucking phenomenal because this fucking manga, The Promised Neverland, is phenomenal. Yo, Professor Pokegeek, you're caught up with The Promised Neverland, correct? Just let me know. You know, but yeah, just like I said, just let me know because, like I said, I don't want to spoil shit, but I really want to talk about The Promised Neverland. Like, I need to do a live stream for it sometime. I might do it. I might do it some point tomorrow. Like while I do, when I do the Kingdom stream tomorrow. Okay, so you're not caught up yet. Okay, so what I'll do is what chapter are you on? Because like I said, I don't want to spoil shit. I hate spoiling things for people. I don't like it. I don't want people to say, "Oh, I got to leave the stream because, because I haven't read this thing or whatever." Like, then I'll just talk about something else. Okay, but let me know what chapter you're on. The reason why the battle was rushed because he didn't have his editor with him. Which battle are you talking about? Are you talking about which battle? But yeah, on the Heart 9, we were just talking about JoJo. We just some bullshitty things, nonsense. Oh. Okay, we're not gonna talk about it. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll have a separate stream for that, and I'll just talk about it, and like you don't have to enter that stream. But yeah, but just know that The Promised Neverland is phenomenal. The pacing is very great, very good. It's just greatness. It's just fucking greatness. You're really gonna enjoy it. Okay, but that was funny, yeah. but that's like but whatchamacallit, I was talking about One Piece earlier, but I'm trying to think what else we like. Oh yeah, you're talking about the battle with Dio. Okay, so we're talking about the battle with between Dio and Jotaro. Like, yeah, it was definitely rushed. Okay, so his editor was in a hospital. So okay, so his editor didn't tell him like, yo, like that was kind of a shit move to give him the world. Hold on, my fiance's home. I can hear her coming in. Just give me a sec. Okay, we're back. Actually, that was not my fiance. That was just a neighbor from across the hall. Because I heard the keys, and usually, like, if I can hear the keys like that close, usually it's my fiance, and she was at a sort of writing author sort of like get together or whatever. So yeah, she'll probably be back late, late. Okay, but yeah, Dio and Jotaro. That fucking battle. The world's design was fucking awesome. Like I said, like I like Araki's art is phenomenal. The way he draws stands is phenomenal. The way he draws abilities and things like that. Certain things, the the comedic bits in terms of the artistry. Good shit. But that battle, man, it just ended for me on a sour note. Like I think it was still good, but it wasn't nearly as wonderful as it could have been. Like wasn't nearly as wonderful as it could have been. I just think Jotaro using the world was fucking bullshit. I just don't understand it. I don't understand it. I haven't gotten a explanation. So, haven't got no damn explanation from Araki. Plus, I wanted Dio to use his original powers in part 1. Yeah, I mean, like this is the thing, right? Like, again, part 1 and part 3 sort of have these weird parallels, right? Like Araki's trying to introduce these new concepts, and in certain instances, he's great about that, and in other instances, he just drops the ball. Just drops the ball. So like I'm not gonna be like, oh, this was incredible. Let's not talk about any of like the stupid shit that happened. No, gotta talk about the stupid shit. Because even with the stupid shit, I still love JoJo. I still love JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I still love the series. So yeah. But what was I gonna say? Trying to think what else do I want to talk about. I know a lot of y'all had a My Hero Academia stream. We could talk about that. What I might do is I might end the stream now just because I do know that my fiance is probably gonna come home very soon. And I have to give her a call just to make sure she's okay and everything like that because she's out. It's late. But we could what I want to do is have also a JoJo live read through where I read part 6, start there. I really want to get through part 6 and 7. I feel like there are 8 parts now. Right? I feel like 8 or 7 parts. I'm not sure, but yeah. I feel like there are 8 parts, right? There are 3 more JoJos after Giovanni Giorno, right? I feel like there were 3 more JoJos, right? So I'm gonna end the stream here. Space Rip, I sing guys, Rip Barnes Ice, teleporting into regeneration. That shit was great. But then they just eliminated that shit, Okay, I'm gonna end the stream here. I'm gonna head out. All right. And like I said, I'm so glad. I'm always happy when all y'all come out. It's cool. Have a good conversation. It makes me happy. Just be, it's yes, the fiance's out. I get to watch things. I get to do the stream in the living room. It's cool. I'm not worried about Bogart in space or anything like that. But it's cool. I get to talk to you guys. It's not I have my cats and I have my cats and everything like that. But it's not the same as having people in here and everything like that. No problem. Nakamanga, I definitely want to do that Yu Yu Hakusho Devin Wonderland stream soon. Maybe sometime on a Friday this week. No, this upcoming week. Maybe on a Friday or something. If that's a good time for you. But if that's not a good time for you, we can always plan it for the following week, Monday or something. We could do that. Yeah. Okay. All right. Shouts out to Professor Pokegeek. Shouts out to Nakamanga. Shouts out to the Heart 96. Shouts out to other dude that was in here. Shouts out to It's Fraggy. Shouts out to Spider Shot MC. You know what I mean? Thank all y'all for coming out. Shouts out to One Vision. And yeah. All right. So I'm gonna get out of here. Okay. And like I said, I'm gonna do another stream tomorrow. I might just do a stream where we just shoot the breeze. And like I said, Professor Pokegeek, Pokegeek, anytime you want to talk about it, whatever, just feel free to tweet, send me a message on Twitter or something. I have no problem just talking about stuff that way, But yeah, it always makes me happy when all y'all come through. All right, so I'm gonna do a stream tomorrow, Kingdom stream. I'm gonna finish up that arc. It's not gonna be a whole stream where I read through it. It's gonna be 2 streams tomorrow. One stream is going to be half of the chapters that I have to read, so 20 or so chapters, and the other stream is gonna be 20 or so chapters. So we'll finish that arc. Okay, I'm out. I'm the Black Manga Critic, and later, y'all.